Hello and welcome to Lost in Chronologically Lost. I'm David.
I'm Matthew.
And today we are going to be going over Episode 9, 1978 to 1991, and Episode 10, 1992 to 1995. Now, before we begin, I just want to say this is probably my favorite stretch that you'll get in Chronologically Lost because it's just showing all these backstories, and this is something that you couldn't ever do in an actual story because it would be way too boring. Nobody's going to sit through, 10 episodes of just backstories on like 20 different characters.
There's going to be 10 episodes of it?
I don't remember. I'm just throwing out a number. But there's going to be a number of episodes. And put together in this way, it really makes me enjoy the actual like forward moving plot on later on. It makes me enjoy it so much more. So I want to ask Matthew, did you like these episodes compared to the more plot heavy ones that we've had?
I'd say I liked them. I will say it was kind of like, I wouldn't say like either of these like my favorite episodes because, it was separated into so many parts. So there were parts I would really like, and then there were also some parts that were just fine, but like, I think I'm going to like this bunch of episodes too. In general, I'm enjoying the major backstories here. I'm sure most of the backstory episodes aren't going to have the starting scenes with kind of bad child actors. So in general, I think they're going to be good.
Right, we basically get all the child actor scenes out of the way right now. But one thing I want to say is I did something very foolish, which is I thought, I will look up on the Lost Wiki all these scenes and when they happened, so I will know what year we are in, considering how many years we're covering. Mm-hmm. This was a mistake, because the Lost Wiki disagrees with how Chronologically Lost put them together.
Oh, no.
They think that the very first one of, where we have, Saeed killing a chicken so that his brother does not have to, they said that should have been, like, a couple episodes ago. And they also said things like, at the end of episode 1 with the whole thing that at the end of episode 1 where they see the statue, right? They said that should have been before the Jacob backstory. And
I don't know about that one. And
I'm like, I guess, and they did actually make some good points of like, no, the statue was built and all the sort of ruins, like we saw where the bomb was kept, this kind of, they're like, that was built before the Romans got there in episode 1. And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And I'm like, did they not show the statue because they just didn't care about the statue, or did they not show the statue because they didn't want a giant CGI shot interrupting their story for Jacob?
You know what? I'm not worrying about it. I'm not.
Exactly. I got that far and decided I'm not going to worry about it. So I stopped looking, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just guess what year it is, and I'm sure we can just move on with our lives, because trying to figure out the exact year that it is now in based on the wiki is just a fool's errand. So,
alright, so beginning of the episode, I think we started with Saeed as a child, where it's pretty much just as simple as he kills a chicken.
Right, with his bare hands, I might add, even though there was a
you break its
knife.
Break its neck. Yeah, I guess. I mean, this sets up that he's willing to kill, but he's gonna do it for the sake of someone else, which I think we also see in another backstory later too. But yeah, I mean,
right. I will say it is executed much better in the other backstory.
But that seems reasonable setup for worse. We're gonna see Saeed's characters go, but there's not much else to say about it.
Right. Then we have the Juliet's parents' divorce scene, and they drop the line of, just because two people love each other doesn't mean they're supposed to be together, and you'll understand when you're older, which is apparently when a hydrogen bomb is about to be blown up.
You know what? Regular old divorce scene, I didn't care much,
Yeah.
And now we have Jack, which is just like, he's, someone's getting bullied, and Jack tries to help, and he gets beat up for it. And then he talks to his dad, who seems like he was also a surgeon, so he's following in his dad's footsteps. And his dad is, like, chipper, even though he failed to save a boy's life. And I get it, because, you gotta keep going. You can't let that failure ruin your life. You're gonna see a lot of that when you're a surgeon. It's just tough. But I don't know, he feels like he's kind of being a dick towards Jack.
He is. I will say, I really like the actor for Jack's dad, because he plays that line between sort of trying to help his son, but also being very negative towards his son.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know what, son? You aren't good enough and that's okay, which is just weird messaging when you're raising a child.
But we do know that Jack does become a surgeon, despite clearly his father's advice that he couldn't take it when he fails.
And,
so,
I don't know much about where Jack's plotline will go during the main plot, but I think this whole being a hero trying to save everyone, I think that's going to be a big thing for Jack. And, I don't know if you should cut this out or not. I don't know if this will be interesting. But this reminds me, the other podcast we wanted to do, which didn't work out, but we might do in the future for a book series I love, the Stormlight Archive, that I wanted you to read. There are some similar themes. There's some very similar themes in there to what, I don't know if it will happen with Jack, but what I'm thinking will happen with Jack about, being able to save everybody when you're a surgeon and trying to be a hero in that way.
Yeah, well, they're making that point here. And another thing I just want to add about this scene is the actor they got for Jack's dad. I do like him. However, they cast him to play Jack's dad when Jack is like, I don't know, 35, 40. I don't know how old the actor was supposed to be. But so then in this scene where Jack is supposed to be like 12, they just give him some like black hair dye and are there, even though this is clearly a much older man. So then we get Miles' backstory, and I have to say, Kid Miles, bad actor.
Kid Miles, bad actor, adorable little kid.
Oh yeah, very cute looking.
Yeah.
So
we got.
It's just showing. Oh, he can hear dead people.
Yeah, which I mean, honestly,
which we already know. Nothing interesting really.
Honestly,
here.
I mean, we already knew it, but I thought it was an effective way to show it. I feel like I was, just invested in that scene in a way I wasn't that invested in the backstory scenes before this one. It's just like the concept of a kid who sees dead people, so he wanders into an apartment with someone dead because he hears them. I think that was solid. I think that didn't rely too much on the kid's acting ability.
The idea is solid. I'd say it did rely a little bit too much on his ability. Maybe. And especially just because we've already seen the whole cap off with Miles. It lost its impact for me, at least. Yeah. And I just want to add in, there's this whole mystery of how he can hear dead people. And basically the explanation is just that he was on the island when he was a baby. But we have other people on the island when they were babies, and they can't hear dead people. So
you know what? Don't worry about it.
That's our explanation. Yeah, just don't worry about it.
You know what? That's good enough. Like, I love that experiencing the show in this direction is just giving me a ton of things where I can just be like, I'm not going to worry about it. Or if I watched it in the way most people did, they might bother me that we don't get that much of an answer.
Right. Watching Lost, you're either going to come away not liking it, or you're going to come away liking it, but also having a position towards media of, it's fine if it doesn't cover everything.
Yeah. Now, next we get a kid playing piano.
No.
It's
no.
We got the scene. Yeah, we got the scene before that with the two kids, and he stole the food to give his little brother.
Right, Echo and Yemi. They break in.
And so I mean, given that we heard his name, I think Echo is the one who will be a character we see. But I don't think I got to see him before this point.
Nope. And, we have this nun who's telling him to confess because he did something bad, and it's the point he's like,
and
I don't feel like I did anything bad because it was to help my brother.
I don't think so either. I think that, and, he gets, I mean, I don't know what it's like to be raised Catholic, but he gets very
especially
of having to
rural Nigerian Catholic. Yeah, that's got to be intense.
Yeah, but he's just like the idea of going in and confessing frightens him, and I'm just like, just go and say it. And if you say it, then don't you get away with it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an expert on Catholicism.
I think it's just doctrine, he doesn't want to do it because he doesn't feel like he's done anything wrong, which I think is a fair point.
when you're a child, I get that. Adult me would just be like, oh, I'll just say it just to get out of it.
Then we get the
Kid's a
piano
better
scene.
person than me. Yeah.
Then we get this piano scene, and you were saying, I hope you didn't say I'd like Daniel just because he studies math, and it's like, nah, it's because he studies math and he plays the piano.
And let me tell you, his mom is just like, you are important. You're going to do important things. Which, first of all, that makes me just think, is she someone with a strong idea of destiny? Or is she literally just going off of, I know you're going to time travel, so I know you need to be a scientist to get to that point?
Well, she also has his journal, so...
Oh.
She knows what he has to do, which is to write that journal.
So she says, okay, oh wait, first of all, he counted the exact number of beats on the metronome, which is such a cliche, like, television way of showing that a kid is a prodigy. But then she says, you have to do your math and physics studies, so you can't do piano. And let me just tell you, buddy, I did both. I studied math and physics and I play piano, and you know what? I have managed to become decent at both. Very mediocre, but actually doing them. So I think that she's wrong. Yeah, but she needs him
to become amazing at just one and die at, age, 28. So, the kid Daniel even argues. He's like, I can make time, and she's like, no, you can't. Trust me.
Yeah, which that's a little sad in that she knows he has limited time, but then we'll talk more about that later. So next we get Sun, who I haven't seen yet.
Right, this is the first
time I see Sun. And she's, she's also playing piano, also with a metronome. I don't know if there's, meant to be any meaning to that consistency, because I'm sure these episodes weren't that close together. But her dad approaches, and she steps back scared from her dad, so I'm like, okay, she knows she's scared of her father, or maybe she knows she did something. And she broke the ballerina statue, I think, but she says the maid broke it.
Right, so I have sort of an issue with this scene is... I tried to look up the episode it was from and to see what kind of point they were trying to make with this scene. And even within the episode it comes from, which I won't say what happens in it, it is this is just a bad scene. There's no... We don't really learn anything about Sun's character other than she lies when she was 8, 8?
So she's whatever. Not so she doesn't become a liar in the future. This is just...
I mean, everyone lies to a certain degree, but especially the thing here with blaming the maid, I just don't see how it fits with, anyway, I just don't like this scene.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, it definitely, I feel like if it's not going somewhere like that, then yeah, what's the point of it? This is just telling us she is Korean and played the piano as a kid, or what?
And has maybe she dad she's afraid of.
Angry dad.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get another which the color grading visually, it's very we have to make it feel like Africa, so it has to be all orange. And drab.
It's better than what they do when they try to make it Iraq. That's
yeah. But so some soldiers are coming, taking the children, and they try to make the little kid, his brother, shoot the old man. He says kill him in English, and Echo just jumps in, does it instead.
Well, I want to say English is a national language of Nigeria. Most people there speak it. Yeah. It's, former.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, I can totally buy that they speak it. It's also just I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand what it's like to be bilingual, where you switch back and forth a lot. Because I'm just because whenever they do switch, I'm like, why just switch? But I'm sure that's just a thing bilingual people do a lot.
Not something I really understand either, even though I want to.
Yeah.
But also, this is where, after he shoots the old man, one of the sort of armed men, they now call him Mr. Echo, and that's going to be his character's name. He's not Echo, he's Mr. Echo.
See, I don't, because this is the first time I get to see this character. So for a lot of these characters, I've gotten a bit of them. I don't know the main story, but I know enough of them to know who they are and to start to be able to see, what was their childhood, how did it lead. I can see the connection. I can see Daniel as the prodigy. I get some stuff with Kate later that feels connected. I get, Saeed, it's all connected. And then with these, it's like, I have no idea where this is going to go. I have no idea what kind of character this will be or their role. And I mean, I'm kind of glad that I'm getting to experiencing it one way with some characters and another way with some other characters.
Exactly. Then we get a scene of a boy named Charlie being goaded to jump into a swimming pool.
Oh wait, there was one more thing I wanted to say about Echo, and that it was honestly pretty sad to me that just the fact that he killed the man to save his brother from having to do it, which was very similar to Saeed, but even darker, but just he was doing that for the sake of someone else. It was to save his brother from the trauma, from the experience, from having to be the one to do, which also connects to some more Saeed stuff later. But, and then, the armed men who are taking him, they're like, oh, this guy's a born killer, he's happy to kill, no hesitation, and it's like, it wouldn't make him regret it. I don't think Echo would regret that choice, but it's just kind of sad to see him being interpreted one way when he obviously meant it another way. Like, he's going to be treated as this happy killer when that's not actually who he is, and that made me sad.
Exactly. And it's interesting you say that because, your interpretation of that opening Saeed scene is one that seems correct, and I would agree with it. However, I know the episode it was played in, and in that episode the show is trying to make a point that Saeed is just a bad person. Like, and that he's just naturally like that. Which... Like, I just disagree with that. Like, I disagree with that completely. Like, that's not...
Yeah, no, there was... I think... I mean,
I don't think he's innately a bad person. I think he's, bad because of the things he has chosen to do. But...
Yeah, but even with his choices, they're complicated choices. So it's just... I think it was a I mean, if you want a backstory that sees someone taking complicated choices that send them on the path they go on, and it's sad, and it's tragic, but also they're not necessarily a perfect person. I think that was a well done backstory, but we can get to that more later.
Right. So then there's a scene of Charlie jumping into a swimming pool. Yeah. There's nothing to say here.
Who the hell is Charlie?
Yeah, it's just...
I think they sound Irish.
Australian.
But okay, I was way off. All I can say about that is his dad was like, "I'm gonna catch you," and I mean, I guess what he did, you could call it catching him, but I thought he was gonna like catch him in the air. Instead, the kid just plopped right into the water in front of him, and he didn't catch him at all.
It's a scene of a kid jumping into a swimming pool. There's not much to analyze here. Then Kate...
Now we get Kate, and I think they did a decent job of casting, because I thought, I think this, just from the way the child actress's face looked, I was pretty sure it was Kate.
Right, so Kate and her little friend Tom, they try to steal a lunchbox, and they get caught. And Jacob shows up to buy it for her.
First I will say, I think it vaguely mentioned, like, it was much more subtle than it was with the sea, but they mentioned something about Kate being in handcuffs or like a criminal before they made it to the island. Something like that. So I'm like, this is setting her up as like maybe a thief? Huh.
But yeah, Jacob bails her out, and then he says, "You won't steal anymore, won't you, Katie?" And she goes, "Yep." So...
And she's like, how does... I'm still wondering, how does Jacob know? Why is he showing up to these people that are going to end up on the island? Like, and not only how does he know, but what does he think the purpose of it is? What does he need to do? Does he, like, is it a really important thing that he save her from this? Okay, random theory, it just occurred to me.
Okay.
So all the flashes happened because the wheel, but... with the wheel being out of place, but when the wheel is in place, can you still use it for just time traveling at will to where you want to travel to? What if Jacob used it to time travel back and see people as kids who he knew would end up on the island because he came from the future? That's the only explanation that's coming to mind for me for how he knows that they're going to be important.
You're asking a lot of important questions, and you're making some very interesting analysis, and I don't want to spoil you, so I am not going to comment.
I have to watch and find out.
Right, so then we get a time jump into some pouring rain, and they're in like these little canoe things.
I'm pretty sure this... So, this is just showing me there's still... Even for just the time travel plot, there's a lot I have to piece together. But I think this is before
It's early because Charlotte is still walking around fine.
Yeah. So I think this is... So when we first see that beach scene before they get fired on with the arrows, where they're trying to make fire, I think this is before that. But I think it's more before it than I thought. Because,
I think it's after. I think it's after.
Really?
I think so.
Wait, but no. Wait. Okay, yeah, there is... Oh, so it's in the gap between after they left the 50s, but before we saw them go to the well.
I think so. And I looked, somebody
that
tried
makes
to make a chart of their time jumps. And I think there's like 4 or 5 of them that we just literally don't know when they are at all. So it's hard to place.
Yeah, I guess so it's then. So it's like there was that scene where they're like, how did Charlotte know there was a well here? And I guess this is before that. This is in that gap. You know, it just made me think there's just a lot of contextualization that I'm not really getting. And I guess the show just doesn't care to do it, and maybe it's just kind of implied when you're seeing it continuously. But I guess the example is that very first scene of it I saw where they show up way in the past and see the statue. We don't see how they left that and experience this way. I want to see how
they left it from Locke turning the wheel. That sent them to 1974, where they then stayed for 3 years.
I guess. Oh, okay. Locke. Well, wasn't Locke. Okay, you know, look. It just, like, anytime they time travel, I want to see right before they time traveled and then right after the reaction to, okay, what time are we in now? That's how my brain can piece it together. And it's skipping those scenes a lot of the time, I think, just because maybe when it's in order, they're just implied. But it sure has confused me a lot. That's all I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, but just remember, they when they land in 1974, they say, oh, you know, Locke, he fixed it, and I think Daniel says, you know, the record's not skipping anymore. We're just not on the song we want. Anyway, there's a whole scene with Juliet and Sawyer, and it's like, oh, how did it feel to see Kate again? And, you know, just another thing of, oh, what's done is done, so whatever.
Wait, but this is... Wait, when did he see Kate?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I in fact, in my notes, this is why I said, okay, yeah, I'm not really sure how this fits in, because I don't know how he would have seen Kate. Maybe, you know what? I'm sure some of the time travel just intersected with the actual main plot, where it's all like, ooh, we're seeing them in the background during a scene that happened in an earlier season. I bet he got to see Kate during some of that.
Guess you'll have to find out. But anyway, they see some fresh wreckage that is French.
I mean, I thought you misspoke there. I thought you meant to say French wreckage.
No, fresh wreckage from the French, who we then see there on like some sort of, I don't know, dinghy kind of thing, and they find Jin passed out on a thing on the ocean, and so they rescue them and they crash on the island.
Here, I'm just wondering, like, what's gonna happen to them, because this is a whole new group added to the timeline where now I'm like, why? Like, what's then, like, now I need to know, like, where they end up, who survives, you know, what role they play in the future. I need to know how they fit into things, and I do get that for most of them.
Yeah, well, what I found out, and I found this out very recently, just a couple days ago, incidentally on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt, which is that this whole thing with the French crew landing and everything, it was originally just supposed to be a normal backstory episode. However, there's one of the seasons of Lost was during the writer's strike of 2008, 2009. Mm-hmm. So they had to cut down on episodes, and apparently one of the things they cut was this backstory. So they kind of lumped it into the time jumps to try and give it to us, which I think is fine.
Good job. That works. Good solution to your problem.
Right.
But so Jin wakes up. They ask him questions. There's some, So she says her name is Danielle Rousseau. And we get the look on Jin's face and the dramatic music, and just like, okay, this is somebody that he knows.
Especially that she's
gonna do
pregnant
stuff in the future
too.
Yeah, and the first thing I wondered was just, maybe she joins the others, which, no, it does not end up being that. But
her baby does, though. Forcibly, but...
So they're gonna... Alexandra, I think they're gonna be a character. But, so we hear the numbers on a radio, of course, and Jin is just freaking out that she's Danielle. He's like, what year is it? And I like the, I just enjoy scenes of people dealing with language barriers. So I just like how the guy drew a radio tower in the sand.
Right, yeah, you have someone who speaks Korean and limited English, and a couple of people who speak French and limited English trying to communicate, which I liked. And they even have a thing where Jin is trying to explain sort of what happened to him. And he says, oh, my boat sank, and then there's how I have to find the helicopter, and the friend of the guy goes, first a boat, then a helicopter. Next we'll be talking about a submarine.
Yeah.
Which is like, well, there's one of those too. Just somewhere else on the island.
Yeah, Jin, he wants to find his wife. And this is where it kind of hit me like, wow, in the 70s he goes 3 years without getting to see her. Now I'm starting to get invested in... Like, at first it was just, some character I don't know. Now I'm really starting to get invested in him getting to see his wife again.
Oh, yeah, everybody wanted him to see his wife again. It was...
Because, like, where is she? What happened to her?
I guess we'll have to find out. Anyway, so one of the French crew... there goes missing, and Smoke Monster killed him.
And the guy is like, this is what happens when you bring woman. She's probably off chasing a butterfly, which is just, wow, dude, okay.
Yeah, they had to make someone the worst.
Well, at least he dies.
Right, and
but Jin is just like...
They get dragged into this sort of temple-looking area.
And his arm gets ripped off. Don't skip that.
Right, yeah, can't skip that. And they all go to jump in and try and search for him, even though Jin is like, do not go in there.
Yeah, and when he falls down and we hear his voice, I'm just like, okay, he's dead and the monster's mimicking him or took over his body.
Right, and at least he's able to stop Danielle from going in.
Yeah, but then he gets flashed. And I do wonder around here, I wonder what the Man in Black's logic is, because sometimes people end up on the island, and he's just chill with them, he just lets them do stuff. And other times people end up on the island, he's just like, oh boy, here I go killing again. And it's like, I wonder what he's deciding off of. Maybe these were gonna be good people who weren't gonna fight each other, and so because of that, he was like, okay, they can just die.
You think that one guy? That one guy was a good person?
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that, but maybe maybe the Man in Black is just believes humanity is bad, big murderer but serious feminist.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Oh, he's like, I gotta kill this guy. He doesn't respect women.
Right, which is also why he kills the women.
He has complicated morality.
It will sort of make sense in a way where they retroactively tried to explain everything that he did, and it kind of adds up, but it adds up in a way where they forced it to add up.
So Jin, he gets flashed again, and now he just sees the arm is sitting there rotting. And I was gonna say, okay, it's been weeks, and then I was like, wait, I don't know much about how long it takes for flesh to start rotting. Maybe it's just been days.
Right, yeah, it's been a while. And we see this little, music box in the sand. And, Danielle, she says Robert is sick and that the monster changed him.
Yeah, which I think there is basically a whole Among Us implied in between this for Jin, where it's like, oh, they thought it was like one of them was controlled, and then it's like, but he betrays them, and then Danielle is interpreting it as them getting infected by something controlling their minds, and like slowly they've died, and now they're the only two left, and she's like, is it the real you or not? Just an entire imposter situation, and and she just doesn't believe it. He convinces her to lower her gun, and he just tries to shoot her. No ammo.
Now, I will say, this will get explained later. It's not that there is no ammo, it's that his gun had the firing pin removed. So,
Oh. Huh. So, explained later? Like we're gonna see... Well, because we can't see a scene before this.
It's not that. It's not that he ran out of ammo. It's that his gun didn't have a firing pin.
Maybe this gun is also from the future?
Maybe.
I can't believe the show is making me ask questions like that.
So then Danielle sees Jin and is like, "Oh my god, you disappeared.
Like,
so you're obviously bad too."
She's like, "You're sus."
Yeah.
But Jin gets flashed, and now we see Ben, which is okay. So this is what adult Ben looks like. I'm sure I'm going to see a lot of him.
This is adult Ben in a wig to try and make him look younger. One thing I will say is the scene that they didn't.
It's like
a scene.
So him being in a wig just. So I'm sure it's just like when we saw that weird long hair Richard.
Right, especially because this wig does not look good on him at all. I wondered how you were going to react to the Ben storyline here, because they never actually showed a scene of like the others giving Ben back to Dharma.
Yeah,
but that's clearly what happened.
It's kind of like just the time travel not giving me reacting to being flashed scene every time they get flashed. It's just like they're leaving it all implied, and it does make sense. But I would prefer if it was. I would prefer if they showed more and fleshed out every step of the timeline.
Right. The kind of thing with that is, as you'll see later, they sort of gas all of Dharma, and they had already shown the whole gassing of Dharma before they did the whole 1970s plot, and so and so like if you're watching this in the normal order, you just know he goes back to Dharma. And then when they're doing the 70s plot, what, are they just going to have a random scene where he comes back? Like, that would just throw another subplot into that arc that didn't need another subplot.
So he comes in, he's just like, "I'm taking your fucking baby, lady." Just baby taker. Which is just great first impression, adult Ben.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be fair, it was that he was supposed to go kill them and decides just to steal a baby, which is like stealing baby bad, but killing a baby and random unarmed woman worse.
He doesn't seem like an awful person. Like, he comes back and he argues with Charles, being like, "This baby doesn't deserve to die. It can be one of us. Why would Jacob want the baby to die?" And
he even says to Widmore, he's like, "Well, if you want it done, then do it yourself." And Widmore's not about to just kill a newborn.
I start to see. I'm not someone to judge how someone talks and to try and judge their mental state from it. But I am going to judge it when I think it's a TV show, and I think the producers, the directors, the actors, they're making the character perform in that way because they want the audience to react to it in a certain way. So I'm saying this because I think the way Ben talks comes off as very strange and weird, like stereotypically how a serial killer would talk. I would not judge someone for talking like that if I met them in person, but on a show, they're doing it for a reason. They want him to come off that way. So he comes up kind of unhinged or sociopathic or whatever.
Even though he's arguing to not kill someone.
Yeah. Well, there'll be more of it, but there will be more of it. I mean, I guess if he was a pure sociopath, he could just kill the baby, but I'm not saying he's a literal one. I mean, maybe I shouldn't use the word sociopath, but he's clearly not supposed... I don't think he's being acted to come off as a normal, well-adjusted person here.
You really think... Of all we've seen of Ben, I think we can definitely say he is not normal or well-adjusted. Then we get a...
Oh, also, I just wanted to mention here, I mean, I could have mentioned it episodes ago, but this is just kind of where it occurred to me. Do you think Richard still misses his wife?
I mean, I would.
I mean, yeah. I'm sure it's there deep down, but it's also, like, been over a century, and he...
Well, he hasn't met anyone else.
He's developed a whole new personality, and he has... I mean, just every day, all he cares about, all he works on is protecting the island, doing all that, and he could just be hiding it, but he seems well-adjusted in that, and it just kind of... I'm not saying he wouldn't still care about her, but it kind of feels like something where, like, he would just go a week without remembering to even think about her. Just because, I mean, he has a whole life here. He has his priorities and leading these people, taking care of the island. And it's just,
Well, he could go a whole decade without thinking about her, but he's immortal, so he's going to think about her eventually. And
Yeah. But I think, what does it say if, like, when we first saw Jacob recruit him, it was like his wife was the number one thing he cared about, and after that he's like, okay, then I don't want to go to hell. And now just like it just feels like everything else has moved up over his wife in priority for his life. And I don't know, I wonder if his wife is going to come up in the end in the future.
It's hard to say when you have a character who is that old, simply because nobody on Earth has ever lived to be that length that we could have any semblance of knowing what their mind state would be like. Oh, another thing I should say is that Ethan shows up to try and help Ben steal the baby. So
yeah, I don't know who this kid is.
Well, he's Amy and Horace's child.
Oh, wait, he's also. Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah, that's why they had that whole sting when it's like, oh, his name's Ethan.
I just forgot the name. Oh, damn. So he's also ends up somehow joining the others.
Yeah, which
I mean, recruited him.
Yeah, I don't know how he would recruit him. Like, obviously Ben wanted to leave because his dad was a trash bag. But I mean, Amy and Horace seemed like pretty good people, especially Horace. Like,
yeah, Horace. I mean, I don't know if I'd say Horace is good, but I think he.
I mean, later when Ben when the whole gassing of Dharma happens, Ben thought good enough of Horace to go and, close his eyes and everything in respect after he had died. Like, so
yeah.
There was something. So
yeah.
Then we're gonna get a whole sort of subplot here with Saeed that happens.
So they're being raided and they're trying to burn and shred all these documents, and then the Americans come into them and Saeed ends up, telling the guy, hey, they're gonna shoot you if you don't stop. The American is racist and calls him Abdul, and then, Saeed says there's no commanding officer, and they're like, you're a liar. They take him as a prisoner of war.
Right, another thing I should say is Saeed says about one line in, is it Arabic? Is that what they speak in Iraq? I don't know what they speak. Anyway, he says like one line before it switches to English because Naveen Andrews does not know the language. All of his storylines, yeah, they're in English, just for us. And yeah, so he gets captured by the U.S., and then we get the worst CGI shot in the entire show. Because, let's break this down. So there is a CGI fence, and behind the fence is a completely CGI'd landscape of a bombed-out town, and then there's a CGI'd gray sky, and there's a CGI helicopter flying around, and then we also see a CGI truck driving in the foreground. And I just have to wonder, who signed off on this? Like, what?
It's the 2000s, man.
But this shot was not necessary. We know they're in. This is something where it's like, oh, we need establishing shot of the city, and then I see this establishing shot, flow. And then I would say, cut the scene and just add in, like anything, like add in 2 seconds somewhere else. Like there's, this is just horrible.
Yeah.
It's just
makes it clear. I think they say something that makes it clear this is during the Gulf War. They want to use Saeed as a translator. They need to get their pilot back, and they want his commanding officer, and Saeed's like, oh, he left, but they've got him right there.
Right, well, yeah, he says that he fled to some city, and they're like, well, this is that city, so that.
I think they meant that sarcastically, like, oh, he's like Tariq is in Hila, and they're like, well, I guess this is Hila then, because Tariq is right here.
Maybe I don't know the geography of these places. I just don't know.
You're just.
But anyway, the first sort of
look. Let me just say, you're just being a stupid American who doesn't know geography outside his country. But I'm the even stupider American because you're not even in America.
I don't need to know the city by city geography of the Middle East. It's just never been relevant to me to learn. But anyway, I should make a note here. I don't know if you saw it later, but sort of the first sort of higher up in the army that Saeed meets and who gets him to try and translate, that's Kate's dad. So.
Oh yeah, because I saw him looking at a picture of her, and I thought, that's in my notes, I thought, is that Kate? I can't tell.
Yes, it's a picture of Kate, because that is Kate's father. And a recurring thing in these backstories in the show is that they talk about you talk about 6 degrees of separation. On Lost, there's 1 degree of separation. Like everyone just is so. There's so much connection between the two.
Yeah, so I wonder if having the absent father who's away in the military affected how Kate just steals stuff now.
Let's say there's gonna be more to do with her dad. I'll say that at least. And so this is an actor. So then a new higher up shows up. And did you recognize this actor?
Should I?
He is Mr. Krabs.
Wait, really?
Yep, from SpongeBob. That's Mr. Krabs.
Wait, this is the wait. Now I'm getting This is the guy who tells them about the chemical warfare attacks, right? Okay, because just before that, I wanted we have the scene where the officer thinks that Saeed is a piece of shit for helping them, and he wants Saeed to grab the gun and kill as many as he can, and he tells them to tell the Americans' mothers. He says his mother is a goat, but yeah, then we get this guy who seems like he's psychologically analyzing Saeed. But hang on, I just wanted to. Now that I know he's that actor, I just want to check if I know him from anything.
He was also in Detroit Become Human as...
Okay, I didn't play that. I don't play David Cage games.
You're missing out, man. They're great meme material.
Hang on, because now I'm thinking wait, I know. Now I feel like I recognize his face, and I just want to. You know what? No, I don't know the actor from anything else. But yeah, Mr. Krabs, huh? Now I kind of... Are we going to get any more scenes of him? Because now I need to, look at that again and see if I realize it's the same voice.
I mean, it's Mr. Krabs. It's just...
Yeah, him. I just want to see... I just want to see if I can hear it in it, because I did not notice at all. Yeah, so he tells Saeed, you're a good man, and, the guy had... He shows them the video of the chemical warfare on a village where Saeed had relatives. They don't show it on the show, but, Saeed has to watch the video, which is messed up.
Yes, and one thing I want to say here is that I just want to say I hate this plot line. I absolutely loathe it because obviously, as we've seen sort of the beginning of one later, there's going to be another Saeed torture backstory scene, and I think that the one later is fine because it's not showing Saeed. It's there to show that Saeed has done bad things. This one is to show that, yes, he's done bad things, but they also try to drill in that torture, in this sense, works, which I want to say, it absolutely does not.
See, I mean, on a moral... I thought this backstory... I think that's a great point, because, yeah, it morally doesn't, but I still think
there not even on a moral sense. On a moral sense, yes, it's bad. But in a sense of...
But on a literal... But yeah.
But we have to do it to get the information. You don't get the information.
Yeah, it gets people say whatever you want to hear.
Exactly. Especially this is line where at the end of this, so we'll circle back. But he says one day you'll need to get information and now you know how to get it. No, you don't. You absolutely don't. That's not... I've read some other things on how the CIA tortures people in order to get them what they want. And there's a type of torture where you're just doing it because as punishment to the person, which if you're doing it in that sense, I mean, morally bad, but fine, you're achieving your goal at least. Because
I thought this was... I saw this as set up for Saeed, he ends up having to torture Ben at some point, doesn't he? What did he torture Ben for again?
They didn't mention why, but they mentioned that he did it.
Okay. Well, I guess, I don't know if it was for information or not. I thought maybe it was not for information. But, see, that's a great point. That is kind of implying that it works. And I can't disagree with that criticism. But there were things I liked about this. Essentially, I mean, things I disliked in terms of what the characters were choosing to do, but I thought made it interesting. In the sense that it is so unethical to make Saeed torture Tariq. Because you're making your prisoner of war do torture. It's a lot like how Echo tried to save his brother from having to kill someone. Just making someone go through torture is psychologically damaging to them, which and secondly, I can't help but think they are making Saeed do torture so then they never have to say that the American military themselves used methods of torture. They're having a different party do it, so then they're not using torture, So then if someone tells them asks them if they ever tortured for mission, they can say no and have it technically not be a lie. Like they're using him to keep their own hands clean, and I found that to be a valuable piece of commentary on like, wow, that is the kind of thing that I could honestly see the U.S. military doing in war. Like, it's cowardly. It's like, there is no reason in there that they couldn't have tortured him themselves. So the only reason I see
even the
for them
point
making Saeed
the point later is that sort of Mr. Krabs. His real character's name is Calvin, I think, but he's Mr. Krabs. He talks to Saeed in, again, Arabic. I'm not sure the language, just to kind of show that he could have done it himself if he wanted to, but he didn't. So
yeah. I mean, there's no way that Saeed was the only translator they had. This was so they didn't have to torture him themselves, so they could have that deniability. That's messed up, but I did find it, like, interesting. Like, it was an interesting story of, like, someone doing something messed up like that. It was powerful.
Right, and they also have this sort of the scene before Saeed tortures him, where he's like, first off, the guy's telling him to just kill himself, which is like, okay. Which is kind of what gets Saeed to snap and be like, he's like, this information means literally nothing to you, and you want me to kill myself to not have it, which is, that's a fair point. Like, but yeah, I disagree with the plot line.
I think in the end, like, turns out.
So to the point where I looked up when this occurred, because there's kind of an issue with Lost, which is when you do every episode of main plot and character backstory, eventually you run out of interesting character backstory, but you have to still make them in, like, so I looked at, I call it the sort of season 3 syndrome, where season 3 added a bunch of, like, unnecessary backstories to characters, where it's like, yeah, I guess that could happen, but I'm not sure what that adds to them. And I thought this was this, because I'm like, we already know he's a torturer, so why did we need to find this out? But no, this was not season 3, this was before then, so I'm like, I guess this is just a bad subplot, I didn't like it.
So then, the one last thing is that he finds out the pilot was already killed, and I just feel like that's what kind of made it for me as a tragic thing for Saeed, because now it's like he did it because he thought it turned out Tariq was a bad person, and he thought, and like is like, well, you know, it might be for the other side of the war, but he is supposedly helping save someone's life, you know, get somebody home to their family, and it's like, I think that was how he justified it in his head, and he had no way of knowing before that the guy was already dead, but then once it turns out the guy's dead, I bet it's just hitting Saeed. Now he's thinking like, damn, this was all pointless. But now I'm a torturer, and it's like, shit. And I don't know, I guess I like this backstory more than you, just because I can't disagree with what you dislike about it, but I like seeing him go through that struggle. I feel like this is a good start to seeing him struggle with his own view of himself as a bad person who's a torturer, because I think this is where you see the self-hatred begin.
That's fair. It's also just that I went into this knowing what his next backstory would be, which I think is just kind of the same point, but made so much better. So I just didn't like this as much. But I guess, yeah, on a first time seeing it, and you kind of looked into it more with the whole U.S. military thing, which it does have merit. I have to wonder if that's... Are you really looking... Are you seeing something that's there, or did the show writers intend for that to be there?
I don't know if they... I think it's very possible they intended that, but even if they didn't, I kind of feel like it's just kind of a natural conclusion, in my opinion, just because... I think it's a natural conclusion, because they could have tortured him themselves. And so that's kind of the only reason I see for them doing it. Even if it wasn't really intentional, I think it's just... That's what the scene says. It's in line with the kind of thing I would think about the U.S. military. We're getting a little too political with that, though, right. I guess.
So, moving on to the next episode, episode 10, it begins with Ben, adult Ben, in Dharma. He's looking at his little doll he got from Annie. He's still got
the creepy fucking wooden doll. What even happened to Annie? I don't know if I care. That doll is creepy.
Apparently they had more plans for her, and then they just never did it. So she just left the island. Left the island. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, with Ben coming off with serial killer vibes, him keeping a creepy wooden doll. I don't know.
He was supposed to keep it. Okay, that was a gift. Like,
yeah,
it's not supposed to be.
So
It's supposed to be sweet. Is what it is.
So now he's in a workman outfit, and we talked about this a bit before we started recording, but I did not realize. I don't know why I assumed this. I don't know if it was implied to me or I just missed something, but I thought that what killed the Dharma Initiative was the nuclear bomb. I thought that they thought it was the electromagnetic surge, but then actually it was the nuclear bomb, and
it was neither of those things.
I don't know why I assumed it. Now I'm not sure if I was supposed to. And I think so many things I said in the last couple episodes, like the stakes of this, the effects it'll have, where things will go, I feel like that was all, for me, affected me assuming that was what ends the Dharma Initiative, and now it turns out it didn't. It feels a little like all my assumptions have to be thrown out now, except I can't remember all the things I said, so I can't remember what I might have to correct about what I was guessing.
You did say a lot of things about how the Dharma was, dead now, and I didn't want to correct you because that hadn't come up in the show yet, so...
Yeah, well, I'm sure people enjoyed me being wrong. But, yeah, and so now, I guess we shouldn't dwell on that too long. We should just get used to how the actual situation is, because it's about to end anyway.
Right,
But he's in a workman outfit, so I'm thinking, like, okay, he's probably been living a double life between Dharma and the others for, since we last saw him.
Absolutely. And so it's his birthday again, and of course his dad doesn't remember again.
Yeah. Is not remembering better than blaming him for his mom's death? I don't think it's a contest for which is worst. I think they're just both the worst.
Yeah, it's just really bad.
Yeah.
So they go to drink on top of this mesa.
There is a gorgeous shot of the mountain.
Mm-hmm. And he asks his dad if he really blames him for his mom's death, and he gives some wish-wash answer that's just like, okay. And then he gasses his dad to death, and it's like, this is supposed to be like, oh
wow.
my god, it's bad, you're gassing people to death. So I'm like, no, I enjoyed this scene. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's a good scene, but it's definitely like, okay, then you're just killing.
Right. And
here we go, killing
it
again.
It should be noticed that what do you mean again? I think this is the first person he's killed, is it not? Yeah, his dad.
I guess.
Right, and
yeah.
it's important to note.
I just mean
that he did not wipe out the rest of Dharma. Did he help in the planning of it? And that yes.
The others, I think him being an inside man was probably key, but it wasn't a Ben personal thing. It was a collective decision by the others.
Well, it wasn't a collective. It should be noted. The decision was made by their leader, Widmore. So.
Oh, so that was
Well, he's the one in charge of the others. So.
Okay, well, there's the Widmore scene later. I'm not sure if that's supposed to tie in or not, but yeah. So they just killed them all, and I think, like, I don't know. From the start, I'm thinking, okay, Richard is to be Jacob's messenger, and he's supposed to, try and guide the humans to be good. And I kind of expected that Richard would just kind of be a general guide to, like, any humans that end up on the island. And that was before I knew that we would get
It's not to force them to be good. Like, Jacob doesn't want to force them.
It's just to be a guide.
It's just to kind of be
but
there, give little things that Jacob really needs to be done, and prevents the Man in Black from manipulating too many people.
But the thing is just, I don't know. At first, I mentioned this before, but I didn't expect Richard, his whole goal to turn into just, like, I didn't expect Richard's whole thing to turn into basically just leading the cult of the others whose just whole job is like, oh, stay off our island. No one's allowed to come to the island. We have to protect it. I just feel like that doesn't seem that in line with Richard's goal of, like, let's see if the humans will be good. But then what really doesn't seem in line with that is just them deciding to exterminate the Dharma Initiative.
But it's very in line,
like, you know what, we're done with them.
Charles Widmore, who is their leader.
Yeah. But anyway, I do suppose that maybe the Dharma Initiative was just about to really discover something big, and the others just couldn't let that happen. And so they had to just, like, put a stop to it, be like, no, you You have to die now. We can't let you discover this. We can't let you dig too deep.
They already discovered the wheel, and they discovered the whole swan thing. Do you think there's much more for them to discover?
I don't know. You're the one who would know.
Well, that's why I'm asking. Anyway, we have a little scene, Ben, he closes the eyes on Horace, because I guess Horace was a good enough guy. And the others have taken over. So, and then we get some Hurley backstory. So,
wow. So he's trying to fix the car. First of all, I don't care if you're trying to make a moral point about luck. Saying you gotta make your own luck about trying to start a car when you know the carburetor is broken. That's not gonna work.
Well, he doesn't really say make your own luck. He says, you gotta believe good things will happen, and then they will. Which, that's not a bad sentiment to carry through life, and clearly Hurley has. He's such a positive guy. And also, we should mention his dad is Cheech. Like, that's just great.
Yeah, and his dad just like, you gotta make your own luck. Anyway, I'm going to Las Vegas. Yeah, Hugo. So Hugo, you're not gonna see your dad for a decade or so.
Yeah, like you said, that's his dad leaves, and his dad gives him a candy bar as he leaves. So that's kind of the start of his eating,
Yeah, that's sad. It's like, what the hell do you expect to happen other than his dad losing all his money?
It's hard to say with that whole plot, but basically, yeah, his dad has abandoned the family. And then we get to see Ben playing with Alex on the swings.
We know they are going to reconnect. Yeah. Thinks of Ben as her dad. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, but I totally... Jin knew Danielle Rousseau, so I wonder if she's just like a figure on the island living somewhere who's like against the others because of this. So I expect something like that.
Oh, another thing I should mention in that scene is that Ben says, if you want her to stay alive, every time you hear whispers, you run the other way. And I want to say that line makes absolutely no sense. It just does not make it doesn't add up. So
yeah, I was wondering, wow, is this some detail of how the island works that I haven't seen?
It kind of is, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's nothing else to say about
it. Wait, is it like you have no idea what it refers to, or
I know what it refers to, and he's wrong. So.
Oh, okay. So it's just that. So he's wrong. It's not that. What the hell are the whispers?
You don't know what the whispers are, so.
Okay. So anyway, Charles is leaving the island. He's tied up.
He's being banished from the island, not just leaving.
Yeah. And so he left the island regularly and had a daughter with an outsider. And I do wonder if the daughter... Wait, did it say he had a daughter or a child? Because he has notes... My notes say Okay, I wasn't sure if I... Okay, so it's not Daniel, then.
No. Well, and it wouldn't matter if it was Daniel, because Eloise was an other, so it was fine.
Yeah, see, if it was, I would have wondered, does she count as an outsider now? But... Yeah, so I wonder who his child is, then.
Okay, so yeah, they are banishing Charles for leaving regularly and having a daughter off the island, which for someone who's very hardline pro-island, yeah, that's kind of hypocritical of you, Charles.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing about leaving the island regularly is that I'm just like, Richard seems to, and Jacob clearly does. I don't know. I guess the others have their own rules.
I think Richard can do whatever the hell Richard wants to do. They're in no position to banish Richard.
But so Ben's taking control, and they talk about whether the island wants Alexandra dead. But you know what? I honestly don't care about that. What the island wants doesn't interest me that much.
And Ben says, I'll sacrifice anything to protect this island, and he says, yep, but you didn't sacrifice Alex, so... And then they have a thing where Charles says, you'll be in my position soon enough. And then as he's leaving, he gives, kind of an iconic line of, I'll be seeing you, boy.
So after that, it's Desmond time. So I knew going in from just hearing you say things about Lost that Desmond was a hateable character.
I don't know where you got that from.
I'm pretty sure you said that.
No,
Or was it a bad person but lovable character?
I don't know if I would even say that. People love Desmond. Like, I love Desmond.
Sure? I feel like you definitely... there was... okay, now I kind of want to check the receipts and look through our old conversations.
If I would call anyone a bad person but a lovable character, it would probably be Ben.
Maybe you just meant Ben and I mixed up the names.
I probably did mention Desmond a lot because everybody loves Desmond.
You sure about that?
I think I don't like him as much as other people like him. But you know, he's good.
Maybe it was because maybe it was you saying like everybody loves him and he's not that good, and
I think that's true. I think he is overrated. But
okay, maybe that's. I mean, this is over our conversations over the course of years. So like maybe that impression got warped in my head. Because I think that's it. Well,
right,
okay,
yeah. Overrated doesn't mean bad. Overrated just means not as good as people say.
I didn't love him this episode, and maybe that was that impression affecting my judgment. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't find this parts. Well, I found one scene with him boring, but I didn't find this to be a terrible episode because of him. But I'm not that into him yet. Right.
So we see him, and he's in this abbot. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, and so. I thought a monastery. I don't know.
I don't know these terms.
Who knows? I think is he Irish?
Scottish.
Okay. I'm not an accent guy.
Right.
I think accents are cool, but I'm not good at placing them. Yeah. But so just want to mention, it is just like a dormitory in the Abbot, but it looked like a cell to me at first glance, and then he has a religious guy coming in. Like a religious leader, and I just so thought, oh, this reminds me of that scene with Richard when he was in jail and the priest came in.
Yeah, now that you mention it, that's some interesting parallel there. Although, yeah, he's just a monk in training.
Yeah, he took a vow of silence, and he succeeded, and now he's a monk.
Mm-hmm. They have some sort of argument over Abraham and Isaac and the whole sacrifice
it's kind of like... It's like, wow, he was successful at this, but it just seems like he liked the idea of a vow of silence and sticking to that more than he is actually good at being a monk, because there's all these little red flags starting to come up, and the first one is, he's like, God didn't need to test Abraham, when it's like, you just went through being tested by, well, yourself more than God, but like, with the vow of silence, that just seems like the other monks are not going to agree with you on that.
Right. And then he's doing some work and he gets punched in the face, so we find out it's by his ex-fiance's brother. So
yeah. It's like big punch. Big punch.
Right. And a new scene of Daniel graduating at the youngest doctorate from Oxford because they needed to really match up those timelines.
Oh, I just thought that was meant to be like, oh, he's a super genius.
He is a super genius, but also they had to match up the timelines.
Yeah. So
his mom completely shuts down his girlfriend.
Oh,
hard.
And it's kind of like there's a nuance here. Is it that she knows? Is it that she thinks he has to focus on his work so he can't have time for a girlfriend? Or is it that she knows that the girlfriend won't be able to come with him to the island anyway? Or is it that she knows... Because I think she says something that implies, she knows he's going to die, and so she knows he's going to leave behind people, and therefore, she wants him to avoid that. But I don't know if she has good intentions like that, or if she's just being controlling.
I think it's that she knows Daniel has to focus on his work so much, because he has so much to do before he dies, and clearly, this girlfriend is not written about in his journal and everything. And also, she probably wants to monopolize on his time that he has left. Because she knows she's going to kill him.
Eloise, so did they write this before or after the time travel stuff? Probably before, because you would think that... I feel like you would think that, her lines definitely hint at the time travel, but you would think that Daniel backstory would come way earlier, right?
I don't remember. I think this might have been flashbacks during the episode where he dies.
Oh, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. At this point, Eloise does not come off the same way she did before. She doesn't come off I'm trying to protect my son, make sure his life goes right. She comes off like a really snooty, proper, prim British old lady who is just very controlling of her family's life. It's like just such like I know she's an other, but she could be British nobility with her attitude, where she's just like, no son of mine is gonna date some hussy. You have but then coming off as so manipulative, like, I love you more than any of those girlfriends could. And that made me wonder, like, did they write this before before the flashback,
right,
before the time travel? Because she, like, now I do see the ways it ties into the time travel. I mean, the journal and everything, but you could also just easily take this as her just being a controlling mother who is just so, you have to, like, do what I want you to do. I control your life. What you want to do is not proper for our family.
Well, from Daniel's perspective, that's what it is, but we have the knowledge that she knows what has to happen and is trying to make it happen. And, he talks to her and he's like, when will it be enough? I'm the youngest doctorate from Oxford ever, and I just got this research grant. She goes, a grant? That's great! Like,
Widmore.
Yeah. So his dad is helping him out in that sense.
Yeah.
And she gifts him the journal.
Yeah, has her message to him in it.
Mm-hmm.
Should have kept playing piano. It's fun.
Wouldn't have been shot in the back by your own mother if you did that.
Yeah.
So then Desmond shows up to his, as we will find out, his ex-fiance's house, and, gives this whole thing about how he had a calling because this monk helped him up and everything. And his ex is just like, yeah, well, fuck off. It's a good thing that the shepherd didn't help you up, or you'd be a farmer. Like...
Desmond comes off flaky. That's kind of why I don't love him this episode. Maybe I'm just being too harsh because I came in with the wrong expectations again. But he comes off as very flaky, or I empathize. I understand he's going through these emotions. It's tough for him. But I don't agree with his decisions. He gets too scared of the wedding and he just says, I'm going to become a monk, take a vow of silence and training. But then as soon as he finds out that his former fiance rejects him and stuff, now he just starts getting drunk off of the wine that he is not supposed to drink because they're making it to sell. It's like you seem flaky. You seem like now you're giving up on being a monk because that's not how a monk is supposed to act. So you don't seem like you actually took the monk thing that seriously. It just seemed like you liked having a vow of silence and a new life to throw yourself into to escape from having to marry someone.
Right, like they said, you're too busy running away that you don't see what you're running towards. And so, he gets fired from being a monk, but, it seems like this is all going to be for the better because then he gets to help load wine for this lovely,
and he meets this girl,
British
and
woman.
I'm just like, you seem flaky because now your life is falling apart. You have clearly made big mistakes, but it's like, oh, you meet a nice girl and suddenly you're A-okay because, I don't know.
Hey, I was saying, if I met a girl like that and she was flirting with me like that, I'd be 100% in. Like,
okay, yes. I'm not judging him for going for it. I think he should. Hopefully it makes him better. But he is, I just feel like it doesn't seem like he was ever taking the monk thing that seriously.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Just the fact that he is able to bounce back like this just because of a girl.
The monk thing is also to explain why he will continue to call people brother for the rest of the series.
Oh. Really?
Yeah. Then we have a scene with this man, Michael, and his girlfriend buying some baby stuff.
Did it say his name was Michael?
It says later. They mentioned it.
If when they did, I missed it. Then I never caught. I was like, who is this man? But
okay. Well, his name is Michael.
Is Michael or his girlfriend the one who's going to be a major character?
Well, I didn't write down his girlfriend's name. So, I guess that kind of tips it in one direction.
Yeah, I mean, he has the emotional struggle more. Because, I mean, good luck for him. He seems like a good dude. He loves his girlfriend. He's excited to be a father.
Right, and they have a perfect plan. He'll put his dreams on hold to get her through law school, and then she will support him in doing his art. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Will definitely work out.
I mean, yeah, it's going to go poorly, but I don't...
It goes poorly because she's... Like, she's a bitch.
I don't blame,
like, honestly.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him for doing his best.
Yeah, no, he did
now,
nothing wrong in that scenario. Like,
So now we get a little kid asking this retail worker about the game Mousetrap, and man, I did not even immediately realize at first that this is Locke. He looks so different here, and he looks, no offense, kind of pathetic. He is just like, I mean, he's a middle-aged retail worker telling a kid about a board game, and it just seems like, wow, I mean, yeah, he'll become amazing, but Richard was not wrong, but he is not very special yet.
Yeah, especially because last podcast you mentioned, oh, you know, you want to see Locke become a badass. This is the complete opposite.
Yeah, and I'm still gonna argue he's gonna become a badass. It's gonna happen. Like, this is the setup for him becoming a badass, which will only make it more satisfying. So I'm not disappointed here. This is a great backstory.
Right, and so, you know, Locke meets with some woman, and as he's chasing her down the parking lot, he, like, gets lightly hit by a car.
Also, I want to just say, I only watched the first season of Breaking Bad, not gonna lie. I'm sure some people, if people end up actually listening to this, they're gonna yell at me for that in the comments. But this has a lot of, like, what would later happen with Walter White vibes, where at the moment he's just this kind of pathetic little guy. He's, like, middle-aged, and just, like, I mean, Walter White was a teacher, but had to work a side job at a car wash, basically. Or was it a gas station or convenience store, something like that. And the same energy here, he's just working in retail, and he's, like, clearly just doesn't have much ambition or confidence and just anything. And he's gonna become a guy with a shaved head and a badass attitude. Except I never saw Walter White do that because I didn't watch that much of the show. But yeah, it has that energy, so I'm kind of excited to see it, and I wonder if, for all I know, it might have been an inspiration for that. But yeah, so he meets his mother. Right. And before we talk about that, I knew that I knew this actress. And at first I was like, did she show up earlier in the show? But I don't think she did. Nope. And I knew it was from something. It was definitely a face I recognized. It was definitely not just something where she had a profile that looked similar to other things, you know, the old lady with the big eyes. No, there was something I knew her from, and I finally figured it out. You know the Jim Carrey movie Liar Liar?
Yes.
Because it's a courtroom movie, and she plays the opposing lawyer in that.
Oh, you're right, like, she does.
Once I figured that out, I was so satisfied, because I definitely knew that face.
Yeah, I didn't think I knew her from anywhere either, but I know her from that. Oh my god. So Locke meets with this woman who turns out to be his mother and gives him some spiel about how he's special and that he was immaculately conceived, which is okay, a lie, obviously.
I'm like, okay, she's crazy, but then, you know, yeah, it turned out later.
Mm-hmm. And just in between here, we just get a little scene of Michael's girlfriend leaving him and taking his baby, which is like, that's pretty bad.
And it sucks because he is such like an artist who had to compromise his art for someone else, and now he's being burned for it. Because I mean, she's already working for a law firm. I think they said she just wants to go to another job, a better job. But he's still in construction. He hasn't been able to pursue his art. He compromised that, and now he's being screwed for it, and he's gonna lose his son.
Yeah, which is his girlfriend is just a trash bag. Honestly,
I mean, I get it for her, but it's just, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I would just tell Michael to move to Amsterdam with her and start seriously pursuing art again. But I don't know the circumstances of his life. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff tying him down to him.
These are the circumstances that we know. Like, that's...
Yeah. I doubt... I'm sure if it was that simple, he would consider that.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's losing his son, which is not fun. And so then we're going to get back to this Locke storyline.
You know, if he... So, I'm guessing people getting backstories like this, I'm going to see them on the island, so I kind of wonder if his whole thing is that he wants to leave the island so he can see his son again.
Mm-hmm. That would be a strong motivator. So Locke, he gets some information from a private eye.
He gets a PI.
And if he listened to this private eye, things would have gone so much better for him, because the private eye says, your dad didn't want to see you, so just don't touch it, and because it won't have a happy ending. But
Yeah, and you know, I'm starting to think here, like, I know Locke is going to become a badass, but it's just kind of sad because, like, it was mentioned by the people who came, like Jack and everyone and Kate who came back to the island, that Locke, he dies. So it's like, I know he's going to become a badass, but it's like the majority of his life is going to have been spent being kind of, no offense, but kind of pathetic. And, like, only then, like, eventually he's going to become a badass, but he's not going to get much time with that before he dies. And what I at least hope, and I think I could probably confidently hope, is that while he's a badass, he is going to accomplish important things. I mean, he already has. We've already seen it. He saved lives.
Exactly. Locke will have a very interesting journey. So anyway, he goes to find his dad, who, I don't know if they ever say his full name, but his name is Anthony Cooper.
I think they did, but I also forgot it.
Right, and because I knew that this turns out to just be a whole scam to steal his kidney, it's...
Yeah,
he's charming Locke, he's inviting him in and giving him scotch, and it's just like, I want to punch him in the face so bad.
Look, I did call the kidney thing before it happened, but I totally got from the start, like, I don't know if I should trust this guy because, I mean, first of all, he's friendly now, but he wasn't there for Locke. If he was a really good man, he would have been there for him.
Exactly.
But lives in a gated community.
It's not just a gated community. It's just his house that's gated.
Oh, so he has a security guard just for himself.
Yeah, he's rich.
And so he's a hunter, which, I mean, I'm not going to say hunters are bad people. I know plenty of people hunt for food. But, I don't know. It's more like, it's less that hunting is a thing that makes you bad, and more that when you're like a rich hunter, it seems like you're just I don't know, this guy, I'll say, he seems like a step away from wanting to hunt human beings.
Becoming a regular Dennis Feinstein.
But anyway, yeah, so he has security, a gated home, clearly votes Republican, and let's not forget...
Hey. I have strong doubts that he votes at all.
Oh, do you think he's a sovereign citizen?
I just don't think he bothers to show up to the polls.
No, he has a financial interest in having low taxes.
Yeah, okay, so they...
Well, maybe he donates, but I just want to say, lastly, it is important to not forget that this is a man who got a high schooler half his age pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he is human garbage, basically.
So, he's friendly now, and he's like... And they laugh about how crazy his mom is. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they go hunting together, it's nice. And now, you know, we see Locke show up, and he's already friendly with the guard, he's already chatting.
Yeah, so they've made hunting a regular thing.
Honestly, when he slowly goes in, I'm like, oh shit, is his dad going to have died suddenly? But then, it's the dialysis machine, and at this point I knew. Look, I knew, like, oh yeah.
He's just doing all this to get a damn kidney.
He was too friendly. Exactly,
yeah. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Now, I think we cut to more Saeed stuff, actually.
Right, so we get a Saeed storyline that I think is actually good.
Yeah, he's a serious story, and I feel bad for him, because even if, you know, torture doesn't work, but they think it does, so he just kind of ended up falling into that role because he knows how to do it, and that's... See, I think for me, the earlier backstory for him, I think that played into it and made this better because, like, now for me it just feels like now I'm seeing the fruits of it. Now I'm seeing he's fallen into the role, but deep down he kind of hates himself for being in that role and thinks he's a bad person, but he does it out of a sense of duty.
Exactly. So, you know, he's even getting a promotion for his work. Unit. And then he sees who turns out to be his childhood friend Nadia.
Yeah. No, his childhood bully.
Well, yeah, childhood bully / love interest.
Yeah.
And he's told to torture her.
And she's just like, I have been tortured so much, you ain't gonna get shit from me.
Right, and I think she's the perfect, you know, antithesis to the plotline that we just saw, where she clearly is not gonna stop, and she's not really gonna give info. This has happened before.
And I think, like, she is somebody who, I don't know much about the political situation of, like, with the Kurds and stuff, but...
I don't think this was Kurds. I think this was
No, they
on...
mentioned both. They mentioned both. I think they mentioned like she was associated with both Kurds and Shiites.
Right, but based on her,
But,
ethnicity, I'm gonna guess she's more with the Shiites. I think they...
But look,
Yeah.
I don't know much about the political situation, but clearly she is somebody who believes in a cause. So at most with Tariq, you could maybe say torture doesn't work, but Tariq was just being an asshole. But her, Nadia, she believes in a cause, and when somebody believes in a cause, the torture is not going to do shit for you.
Especially with a cause like that, where we can kind of see it was, even if we're looking at this from a 2020 North American viewpoint, that it was the correct cause to oppose Saddam Hussein.
I don't. Okay, yeah, against Saddam Hussein, yeah. I don't know a lot about politics in Iraq, and I don't know a lot about that era of history. But I mean, on the one hand, I get it that Said is like the bombing killed 2 people, but on the other hand, you're fighting I'm sure they're fighting for freedom, and yeah. So I'm not Said doesn't seem like this is why I enjoyed Said's backstories in general. He doesn't seem like a bad person. He is not doing this because he hates their cause. He is just he's trying to do something about the people who died in the bombing. And yes, you could say he's part of the system, but when we've been with him as a protagonist, you can at least understand that. And I mean, root for him, and maybe you want him to. I don't know. I just don't know enough about the situation, though.
See, I know where his plotline's going, so I understand this whole flashback, and I like its purpose, but it's just very complicated right now, his character.
Yeah.
So I think we're just going to stop talking about his subplot there, because it doesn't finish in this episode.
Yeah.
But Locke's does! In the most tragic possible way.
Yeah. It's just I saw it coming, but still, when he wakes up and his dad is just not there, and I'm just like, that guy, that Republican, basically child molester, hunter, rich person, eat the rich, at the very least, eat the rich who are assholes like him. And the nurse doesn't even know they were related, because why would his dad have mentioned it? He doesn't leave a message, and now his mom's here, and she was in on it.
Yeah, just for some money. Locke drives to his father's house and basically just has a complete mental breakdown because...
Yeah, he's like, I know you... He looks through the gate, he's like, I know you're watching.
And, he sees the camera move to look at him, so it's he's looking, but he's not ever... I just hate Anthony Cooper so much. He's easily in the top 5 of most hateable television characters.
I really felt for John here. Just you saw him be a good person and get screwed for it. His life is being destroyed, and it's just, I don't know. It is really a convenient quirk of evolution that we evolved to have 2 kidneys, and we only kind of need 1. That is really cool. That evolution didn't happen. We didn't evolve for that because surgery was invented way too recently, but that is a neat thing about humans.
Well, I think we're optimal with 2, but we can survive with just 1.
Yeah, maybe Locke dies. Maybe the way Locke dies that I haven't seen is of kidney failure.
Oh, that's going to be very, very interesting, and I will not comment on how he dies.
Yeah,
so,
but
this is...
I feel for him, and I'm starting to realize maybe. I mean, there's still you said his backstory is dumb, but I mean, there's still a few years before the island, and I don't know, is he gonna get any?
No. I didn't mean his total backstory. So I mean this plot.
Subplot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We're not done with Locke. Trust me.
Okay, yeah. Because I don't know. Because I want to. He's at his lowest point. I want to see him bounce back, and also it's gonna be really satisfying to see him eventually. Prove himself to Richard, and Richard's gonna respect him. That's gonna be really good because we know Richard was doubting him, and I guess I'm just wondering, is he gonna become a badass now, bounce back from his lowest point, or maybe is he gonna become a badass while on the island, which I kind of don't think so, just because back in the 50s when Locke saved Sawyer and Juliet, I think from the others attacking them. I think he just threw a knife into someone's back or something like that.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was a competent fighter. So I think I think I'm gonna get to see him like literally become a good fighter and badass, and I think that he could have done that just while on the island. It would have taken longer than that.
All I'm gonna say is you're gonna see a lot of Locke. That's.
Well, I'm excited. I think. I mean, I said before, Miles was my favorite character at the time, and I'd say still say he's up there. But maybe, I mean, with me just having gotten not much Miles these episodes and a lot of Locke, maybe Locke is my favorite right now, because I felt for him on that. I liked who he was in the present, and I want to see him grow into that. Locke is the one who I am most invested in seeing more of right now.
Yeah, I would say I think that Locke is probably the favorite character of most people. Like he would probably, if you did a poll, he would be number one for favorite character.
Yeah. Which he has a very clear appeal.
Yeah, he's not my favorite. I'd say he's my second favorite. So it's he's very good. So next episodes that we are going to be covering are episodes 11, 1995 to 1996, and episode 12, 1996 to 1999. So we're just getting a lot more backstory here. Based on what you said, I'm going to assume that the one that you want to see more of the most is Locke.
Yeah, just because, I mean, it's baited me, and I mean, I'm sure maybe, if I get, like, one scene with Miles or just someone else, Jack or Sawyer or Kate or Juliet, I'm sure those could make me think, oh, now I really want more of those, but they haven't given me anything to hook me yet, and Locke definitely has.
Exactly. We've only really gotten full storylines with sort of Desmond, Locke, and Saeed here, because the other characters that we've seen, Juliet, Jack, Kate, Sawyer, even Michael. We've only seen little tiny Charlie. Even Son. Like there's so many that we just got like 1 minute long scenes for all of them. They don't really, other than Michael's, I'd say, and maybe Jack's, don't really tell you that much about them. And so I don't. I mean,
literally, I could not tell you a single thing about Charlie. I'm just like.
Other than that, he jumped in a pool once.
Good for him. Maybe it's about. Maybe his backstory will be about his relationship with his dad. I don't know. Honestly, you know what? Out of the ones I got one scene for, Hurley's was the most interesting.
Oh, Hurley, yeah. Hurley's, because it had so much in it that they packed into that one scene.
Oh, yeah. That was a great scene.
One thing I will say is that Charlie basically should have gotten one other scene here, but unfortunately, there were 2 times, or possibly 3, depending on how you count one of them, where a scene will start clearly as a flashback, and it's obviously a flashback. However, it then transitions into being a dream. So then technically it only happened when the character dreamed it, even though it's... Yeah, so basically there should have been another Charlie scene here, but it'll show up much later as a dream.
So it'll be like the one flashback I get during the main plot.
Right, exactly. It's whack. And I do not personally remember what happens in the next 2 episodes, because again, it's all just jumbled up into flashbacks in my mind. So I don't exactly know what's going to be touched on. I know that Desmond is going to have some really weird backstories, because they don't quite line up in Chronologically Lost, I'll say that. It's hard to pinpoint. And I'm hoping that we get more Sun backstory and more Jin backstory, because that's my favorite, but I don't remember how much there is.
I wonder if they're going to be like childhood friends or when they're going to meet. I mean, we haven't seen anything with Jin's backstories yet, and I don't know what adult Sun looks like.
Right, exactly. I don't even remember if it shows up in these episodes. I just know that it's...
I'm still curious to see what makes them your favorites, and I mean...
Here's the thing, I strongly doubt it's going to be your favorite. Like, I think Locke will probably just remain your favorite going forward. But unless you had something else to say, I think this is the end.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, so I hope you will join us both next time for some more flashbacks episodes here on Lost and Chronologically Lost.